Have you ever felt like you're too forgiving of a person? Where you forgive people and you're so understanding, and over again in your life you've forgiven, but it doesn't do you any good. You just continue to receive the same kind of treatment from people, and now you're left here thinking, why should I do this anymore? I should stop being such a forgiving person because it doesn't do me any good. Well, maybe the problem isn't so much in forgiveness, because forgiveness frees not only the other person who has wronged you, but it frees yourself. It frees your own spirit and your own mind and brings you peace. So if forgiveness is so great, then why does it still feel so bad to continue to do it? Why do I still get treated bad? Well, like I said, the problem's not so much in forgiveness. So where's the problem? The problem's in our boundaries. We're doing the energetic work and the spiritual work of the forgiveness, but we're not doing the work for ourselves to set boundaries to prevent the behavior from happening again. We get confused and we think that if you give the forgiveness, that the behaviors will change, but that's not true. The behaviors change in setting boundaries. So how do I do this then? Because I want to continue to stay a super forgiving person, but I also don't want to continue to get treated badly. So what do I do? Here's 5 ways that you can set really healthy boundaries for yourself. And the first thing is to know your limits. So if you don't know what your own boundaries are, then nobody else can either. So we want to give our boundary a name. So an example might be, if I don't like people calling me bad names, and that's something I don't want to allow in my life anymore, then that would be the name of the boundary. People aren't allowed to do what? People aren't allowed to call me bad names anymore. And then you have to have a consequence. So that's number 2. You have to decide your consequences. When people call me bad names, I'm going to ask them not to do that anymore, and if they can't follow that, then I have to disconnect from that person. And then so you would tell them that, when somebody calls you a bad name, you'd say, excuse me, you're not allowed to do that. You can't call me names. And if they don't follow that, then you would stop talking to them. The next thing is to get your priorities straight. So a really healthy way to set boundaries for yourself is to know what matters most to you, and to pick those things first, like to have a hierarchy of your priorities. So let's say my family is number 1 priority in my life. Or let's say my connection with God is my number 1 priority in life. My next priority in life is my relationship to myself, and then my relationship to my family, and then my career, and then my friends, or whatever, however that would go. And then you would know that when you are choosing to place one of those things in a higher priority level than it should be, you know that you need to adjust what you're doing, and that would fix that problem with the boundary. The next thing is to say what you mean and mean what you say. So this is that you want to let the things that come out of your mouth reflect what you truly feel. Speaking your truth. You definitely want to. And so the way this would work with boundaries, so like if somebody invites you to a party, and your immediate instinct is, oh, I'm so not going to that party. Let's make sure that you don't say, oh, great, hey, I'll totally be there. That's not reflecting your truth. We really want to just align like what you say with the truth. And the next thing is the last thing is number 5, to be consistent. Be consistent. Once you set a boundary, you need to keep it set, because people won't take you seriously and take your boundaries seriously if they're so flexible and they're always changing. So if on Monday you set a boundary that you're not going to let people call you bad names anymore, and you've went around telling everybody, oh, you can't do this anymore, and then 2 weeks later you're letting people talk to you badly again, they're not going to take your boundary seriously, not that boundary or any boundary that you ever set in the future. So it's a lifestyle change to set boundaries, and it's something that you have to practice and continue to do, and they'll get stronger, and your self-esteem will enhance when you do this, because having low boundaries is really it shows that there's a problem with self-esteem. So there might be another thing for you to look at as well when learning to set boundaries, to maybe dive into that and really look at why there's a problem with your self-esteem and what you can do to fix that. So today, let's just evaluate and be aware of that difference between forgiveness and boundaries, and keep that present in our mind, that they're two different things and they kind of need to go hand in hand to complete a process, but that there's nothing wrong with forgiveness, and forgiveness isn't painful, and forgiveness doesn't have negative consequences. Forgiveness has amazing consequences and brings so much value to your life, and it's an honorable characteristic, and it's not something that you want to change about yourself or turn your back on. It's something that you want to keep, and it's something that you want to continue to do. So set some boundaries, continue to forgive, no excuses. Let's get better today. Bye.